Hey everybody, it's Galmadex, and welcome to my very first run of the Bloomburrow Arena Direct. If you've never heard of an Arena Direct before, it is a digital event where you can win physical booster boxes shipped directly to your door. Really cool series of events. I am happy that they are back. We are playing best of one competitive sealed of whatever format you're going to win the boxes of. So this time, obviously, playing Bloomburrow sealed, trying to win Bloomburrow play booster boxes. And we have to get 6 wins before 2 losses. If we accomplish that, we get those 2 booster boxes shipped directly to us. So a really, really cool event, but it is a high stakes, high risk, high reward event. It is 5,000 gems to enter, and there is no alternate way to enter. You don't get anything back until a 4th win, again, with only 2 losses kicking you out. And even if you get 5 wins, you just get your entry fee back. You have to get these 6 wins to be in the money. But if you can do that, you are very far in the money, as 2 play booster boxes of Bloomburrow have an MSRP of about $250. So if you can get the boxes within 8 attempts in any of these Arena Directs, you're going to be at least a little bit in the money. And so far, so good for us. We have done great in the previous Arena Directs. Some of them took a little while, but none of them took nearly 8 attempts at it. So we've just been consistently in the money with the Play Booster Box rewards, and hopefully we can do the same today with Bloomburrow. So without further ado, let's just hop into this Arena Direct weekend, grind it out as long as it takes to win some boxes of Bloomburrow. Let's bust open these packs and see what we get to play with today. All right, we've got some excellent rares here. They are a little bit all over the place. We have a couple rares in blue and black, Maha being a gigantic evasive threat. 6/5 flying trample, like even if they have the flyer to block it, they're going to get trampled over for 1 million. And if they want to remove this with targeted removal, they have to 2-for-1 themselves, spending their removal spell and discarding an additional card. Super gross card. Vren the Relentless as well is quite disgusting. It is going to be spitting out some rat tokens every time your opponent's creatures are dying, which is quite excellent. And once again, with its ward ability, it's going to make it pretty hard for your opponents to kill it early in the game. There's a Starfall Invocation for a full-on board wipe, always going to be great and sealed because it is hard for your opponents to play around it. There's Mabel, which is excellent for a mice deck, buffing all of your mice and giving you a really, really nasty equipment out of the Crag Flame that can help trigger your Valiant cards. Valiant is an ability where whenever that creature becomes the target of any spell or ability, it gets some kind of bonus. And when you equip a creature, you're targeting it with that equip ability. There's also Innkeeper's Talent here, which is fantastic. It takes over the game if it goes long, because you're just going to keep getting a bigger and bigger and bigger board. You're making your stuff harder to target with the Ward 1, and you're getting a really massive board once you level this up to level 3. So that is 5 excellent rares here. And then the other one here, Mira, is still solid. If you are a raccoon kind of deck, you can get a lot of mana out of this. But this one is a little bit less powerful than the other 5, just because these other 5 are just incredible rares that fit into pretty much anything in their color pair. Last and certainly least is Dawn's Truce. Not the greatest. You can play it if you really, really, really want a shore up style thing to counter 1 removal spell, but I generally wouldn't recommend it for 2 total mana. I mean, there's a common combat trick that does a very similar thing that I think is just better, which is the 1 mana +2/+2. But if you gift your opponent, I think, a food token, then you give +2/+2 indestructible. So, not a huge fan of Dawn's Truce, but tons of incredible rares here. So let's see what our colors look like here, because we have so many powerful rares in so many different colors here that I think we could really go anywhere with it. So whatever has the most support at common and uncommon could be a good spot to be. For our colorless cards, they are quite mediocre. I don't really want to end up running any of these except the Fountain Port Bell. We can run this in any deck over our 17th land, and it'll make it so we are less likely to flood out, because if we draw it later in the game, when we don't need a land, we can just play it and choose not to put a land on top, and then just cycle it away to draw a card. Plus, of course, it helps make sure we hit the right colors. So Fountain Port Bell, perfectly fine filler to put into whatever we play, so I guess I can just shove that in right now. We've got Pond Prophet, Great Frog. The frog's mechanic in this format is all about exiling your frogs, putting them back on the battlefield, or returning them to your hand and recasting them. So anything with a great enter the battlefield effect, like Pond Prophet, is a good card in that archetype. We have another mouse to go with our Mabel, which is excellent. The Seedglaive Mentor gets bigger every time you target it with a spell or ability for the first time each turn, so works excellently with that Crag Flame and any other equipment and combat tricks. Looks like nothing super exciting there in green-red. Well, literally nothing in green-red. Not a huge fan of the Cutthroat, but Fireglass Mentor is a very good card draw engine if we were to go Rakdos Lizards. Tempest Angler is quite mediocre, and that is it for the multicolored stuff. So most exciting to me looks like Boros with two excellent Boros uncommons. Or, well, one uncommon and one rare, but two excellent Boros multicolored cards. We've got one excellent Dimir one excellent Rakdos one, and one solid Gruul. All right, we will keep that in mind as we look at our individual colors here. See what's looking best. So starting off with white, we have that Dawn's Truce that I'm not that interested in. We do have the Starfall Invocation, which is pretty interesting. We have OK removal with 2 copies of Sonar Strike. I like it a good bit in Bats decks because they have a lot of abilities that trigger whenever you gain life. Not so much in the other decks, it's just kind of OK removal there. Since this is sealed, if we do play Boros, we probably just have to play this to get enough removal into our deck. So certainly solid to have those. And then the hop to it here is just a nice amount of stats for the cost. The Swordmaster here being multiple mice off of the one card is going to play pretty well if we go Boros. Thistledown Players is good for Boros. And a little bit of bat nonsense between the Star Charter and the Life Creed duo. So if you have like a bunch of good black bats in the sealed pool, then alongside Sonar Strike, Life Creed duo, Star Charter, we could get some good synergy going there. So it looks like pretty good spot for bats or mice. But we didn't really get a lot of good bird cards or rabbit cards here in this sealed pool, so not really going to hit those synergies. For blue, do not like Gossip's Talent at all. Everything else here is at least playable, but mostly a little filler. Plume-Creed Escort's pretty excellent. Light Shell Duo is quite solid. Mind Whisker can be good with enough self-mill stuff going on to get to Threshold earlier. I mean, blue is fine. If we have good enough black, we can play blue so that we can go blue-black Vren as an option. I think that's the biggest reason to play blue in the sealed pool. There's enough here that we can absolutely make it work with a really strong secondary color. So again, like if our black is really, really good and we think that Vren is going to play the best, then going blue-black would make sense here. But it would be competing for just going like black-white bats and playing like our white board wipe and stuff instead. So we'll have to see how it shapes up here. But blue is technically an option, just doesn't look insanely exciting. Yeah, black has that Maha here. So that is quite exciting. We've got great removal here, Fell and Savor. We also have Early Winter, which is fine and sealed when you don't have as many options. Wix Patrol is actually quite good as well. Potentially a creature and a removal spell all in one if you have the mana value in your graveyard to be able to remove whatever you need, which is not that hard when it mills when you play it. Yeah, black looks really solid. Bit high up on the mana curve here. We want another color that actually has some 2 and 3 mana creatures. But what is here is really nice. Great removal and great top end here. Yeah, it looks like an excellent color. I think black's my favorite color so far. Red has nothing early. Technically, if we went black-red, we do have that 2 mana lizard and that 3 mana lizard. But there is some removal here. Rabid Gnaw, take out the trash, assaults. It's like no mice in here. Yeah, Boros Mabel not really looking like a thing with the super low creature count and them basically all being lizards. I guess there's one boar, but that's none of the important creature types. Yeah, pretty awkward red here. I don't hate a Gate Assault, take out the trash, Rabid Gnaw, but like the creatures in here are just not ideal. And now for our green, We, of course, have that Innkeeper's Talent. That's a huge deal to consider. We also have Baker's Bane Duo, Bark Knuckle Boxer, and Three Trees Scribe. So three really excellent 2-mana creatures. The Sticky Tongue Sentinels can play well with good enter effects, so they work well with the Three Tree Scribe here, getting extra +1/+1 counters. They work well with the Baker's Bane Duo to get an extra food token. They work well with um, the Pond Prophet we can play in here, even if we're not green-blue. We can play it as a double green 1/1 that draws a card when we have a couple synergy pieces to go with it. They play well with the Treetop Sentries if we have the tools that we need to forage, the cards engrave or the food on board. I like the synergy going on in green, and there's an Innkeeper's Talent, so that's kind of exciting here. Could definitely see blue-black rats, white-black bats, or just green-black good stuff as being solid places to be here. It is possible between a Fountain Port Bell and a Heaped Harvest. Honestly, Paw Patch Formation is not completely unplayable either. You can always cycle it to draw a card. But between the Fountain Port and the Heaped Harvest, we might be able to go like green-black and just throw Wren in there. Just play a single blue card just because Wren is really good. And we get a little bit of extra fixing playing green. So I do not mind that. Yeah, there was nothing else in colorless really. No fixing there. Get to play the Pond Prophets and the Wren out of multicolored. Going towards Sultai. Yeah, I like that a lot. I think that's where we're going to be here. Certainly some combination of these colors. So what does the blue-black look like? We get to cut 6 cards out of here. So that's likely going to be like Skyskipper duos. It's a lot of Intimidators as well. Soothsayer with no synergy. Warden's just not that good. This is a lot more than 6 cards that I want to cut, which is a problem. I don't think double shore up would be the worst in a deck that's running both a Wren and a Maha. So that could certainly be a thing. I feel like there is more than enough stuff that I want to cut here, though, that we end up running a lot of filler. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is like 8 creatures here. Yeah, I mean, we run like the Waterspout Warden, the Intimidators to get that creature count up. I guess Skyskipper Duo is solid with the Pond Prophets. The Thoughtstalker Warlock's another good one to redo. Wix Patrol's really good to redo. Yeah, the Skyskippers might be okay. So we could cut like the Soothsayer, Gossip's Talent, Scales. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. I kind of think I run Dire Sight, go for the more efficient card draw because I have so much top end going on here that we want a little bit more to be able to do on the early turns on occasion, rather than the big X mana card draw. There is also the argument to play the Pearl of Wisdom over the Dire Sights. I feel like Dire Sight is still going to be generally better. Surveil 2, Draw 2 is kind of a big deal. But losing 2 life is actually quite painful in a deck that is not super efficient. Like, there's not a lot of low mana value cards. So we could be just getting beaten down and then cast a Dire Sight and just die a turn faster for doing that. Whereas maybe Pearl of Wisdom doesn't cost us any life, but we don't really have any otters to make it cheaper anyway. So I don't know. I mean, this is certainly a deck we can play. I don't really think that like blue-black splash the green is a particularly good option here because blue and black don't give us any mana fixing. By playing green as a main color, not only do we have Fountain Port Bell, but we have an additional spell we can use to fix our mana, which is pretty important when we have no lands that mana fix us. Like, we have a single piece of mana fixing towards splashing a third color if I play blue-black and splash green. At least if I play black-green and splash blue, I have 2 pieces of fixing. That will make it twice as consistent, which isn't saying that it's going to be super consistent. It's taking it from like incredibly inconsistent to just inconsistent for the mana base. But that's still an improvement. Yeah, this is definitely a deck we could play, but I am very interested in green-black at the core here. I mean, there was basically nothing in green that I need to cut here. We've got a lot more cheap cards this way, so we can slow down our opponent, and sometimes, if we get pretty lucky, we could even be the beatdown player. We have some decent food token synergy for the Treetop Sentries forages. We have the Paw Patch formations, the Heaped Harvest. We can sack the harvest itself to forage with the Treetop Sentries. I have enough good playables in these colors that I can cut the Soothsayer, the Scales, the Stargaze, and a little bit more, like some of the many Thornblade Intimidators that we have. Yeah, I think it's just green, black, splash, blue as the spot to be out of the sealed pool. And with a little bit of foraging going on in this color pair with 2 copies of Treetop Sentries, definitely do enjoy the Surveil 2, Draw 2 of the Dire Sight. I like the Paw Patch formations. I like all this stuff. What is the creature count then? If we cut like this, and these are potentially more top end for us with the Offspring ability or 4-drops if we need them. Creature count's 14, non-creatures is 9. That's perfectly fine. Your average, somewhat aggressive limited deck is 15 to 17. 14 is not too far from that, and we don't really need to be super aggressive when we have bomb power to fight towards with Vren and Maha and some good card draw to try to get there. Pawn Prophet, double Treetop Sentries, Dire Sight, even Paw Patch formations cycling themselves get us a tiny bit closer. Very into this deck. I think this is pretty much how we want to build it, but we will take another look at our sideboard here. Sadly, despite the very powerful Boros multicolored cards, we just do not have the support in red with 0 creatures that work well with these two. There is a boar we would definitely play, but no mice in there, no good efficient creatures, and even the white just had decent creatures to go with the Boros cards. Yeah, I just do not think Boros is going to be any better than this. Black-white could maybe be equivalent. We get to play less bombs that way because we're not splashing in Vren, so we don't get to play Vren and Innkeeper's Talent anymore. We would just be playing Starfall Invocation instead of those two. But it's a powerful card, and we have some more solid removal, like Sonar Strike. So if we want to play a really controlling game plan, black-white would be okay here. The blue-black looked okay as well, but it runs more filler than this deck to be a little bit more consistent mana-wise. Yeah, I think we've looked at all of the most important, most viable options in this sealed pool, and I really do think that this Sultai build is certainly where it is at. So we'll double check our mana base here. I think I'm going to agree with Arena, though. Have 2 islands and a Fountain Port Bell, so 3 sources for our 1 splash card, like you generally want. We have 12 green cards and 10 black, so 8-7 split looks good to me. I could see a little bit of an argument towards even playing a 9th forest, honestly, because all of our 2-mana cards, 2-mana creatures, the cards we have to play on turn 2, are green. We technically have a Fel and a Saver, but often we'll be casting those on later turns anyway. So this means that the black mana is not as important early as the green mana, and it's really not as important. So I actually am going to go 9-6 here. Couple reasons. Again, the main one here is that anything that we really need to curve out and play in the early game needs green mana. It doesn't need black mana. There's only 1 card that costs 3 mana or less that we need to play on curve. That's black. Every other single one is green, because the other cheap black spells are removal spells and card draw, which are spells that we can generally cast later in the game. We would prefer to just cast another creature in the early turns to set up when we can. And then the other reason is that green does have a piece of fixing to help pull out the black mana, but the black mana doesn't really have a piece of fixing to help get the green mana. I guess technically there's a Dire Sight, which is kind of similar, gets us 4 cards closer to a forest, but The whole deal of having all green spells at like 3 or less mana is quite a big deal, so lean towards the forests that way. And this is going to be the deck for today. It looks like a pretty spicy one, so I'm excited to see how it does. So without further ado, let's hop into the gameplay, see if we can get some boxes of Bloomburrow. All right, one last second thing before we hop into the gameplay, because I always forget. I never cut a land for our Fountain Port Bell here. This is basically our 17th land. So right now we're on 18 technically. So we do want to cut a land for that. So we're actually just going to go 8-6 instead of 9-6 here, but keep that lean skewed towards the green mana. There is a slight argument towards playing 17 lands and a Fountain Port Bell and basically being an 18 land deck here, because we do have these potential 7 mana offspring abilities and powerful 4, 5, and 6 drops, Vren into Maha into Wix Patrol, but we have a good amount of random cantrips, like cheap card draw, that will make it so we see a little bit deeper into our deck than the average deck will in the early turns, to make it more likely that we've seen additional lands. We're going to be cycling paw patch formations frequently. We will be always drawing a card off of Pawn Profit. We've also got Dire Sight Digging, Heaped Harvest, literally getting a land every time. I think we're fine to go for 17 lands here, basically. So now that we've cut that land, we'll just throw back in probably the third Thornplate Intimidator. And then, yeah, we'll call it a deck there. Hop into the gameplay, see how it does. All right, here we are for a solid start that shows off why the green mana is much more important early, as the Dire Sight and Wix Patrol can wait for a long time, so I am perfectly happy to Pawn Profit into a Sticky Tongue Sentinel so that we can draw additional cards, making sure that we hit our land drops that way. So I like this start quite a bit. We've even got a Treetop Sentries if we get any food token production, or just fill our graveyard with the Dire Sight potentially. We can forage off that, draw another card later in the game. We are playing against green-blue for now. And there's the Baker's Bane duo. There's our third land, so we know we can curve into the Sticky Tongue Sentinel, which means we want to drop Pawn Profit over the Bark Knuckle Boxer. This does mean we don't have a good block for Baker's Bane duo this turn, but it's early. We can take a couple points of damage. And it is the Sultai Mirror Match, green, blue, and black from our opponent. There's the Honored Dray Leader with a squirrel and a food, so 3 mana, 3/3 trample. That is likely to get bigger as the game progresses. That is concerning. I do have the Fell as soon as I find my first black source. So we're digging here, really hoping they don't have cheap removal, so at least we're stopping the Baker's Bane duo damage this turn. Okay, Orator means another counter on Dray Leader, which is to be expected. I was not planning on being able to stop the Dray Leader damage right now. Got 2 more draws to hit my first swamp to get this Dray Leader killed before it is too massive of an issue. Because I can draw during our turn and then cast the Pawn Profit, and I still haven't played a land. So if there's a swamp in our top 2, we'll be good. Come on. Goblet needs to fell a Dray Leader. Please, deck. Comes up by tapped off of Heaped Harvest, doesn't it? Ooh, yeah, it does. That is awkward. So here is Bark Knuckle Boxer then. Yes. We are certainly not attacking here. Even if we're unlikely to be able to block the Dray Leader well, we need to stop the rest of the damage. Because if we can stabilize this hand, can definitely take over the long game with cards like Wix Patrol here, 2 for 1-ing our opponent. Treetop Sentries is a 2 for 1 as well. Get a 2/4 blocker, draw a card. Dire Sight is drawing 2 cards for the price of 1. We have the card advantage to win a long game if we can survive for a long game. So there's Starscape Cleric kicked, so every time they eat a food, we get shot for 2. And they do have a food there. If they have any other life gain, that's also going to shoot us for 2. So that is a massive deal to the point where... Well, I was going to say to the point where I have to play a Treetop Sentries this turn, but I actually have a Sticky Tongue Sentinel to block. So let's get our Swamp. Forgot that Sticky Tongue Sentinel has Reach. It's one of those Hidden Reach cards. Sadly, they nerfed Hidden Reach. So our opponent is definitely going to know not to attack into it if they don't have removal. Alright, we can get another Swamp off of Heaped Harvest. That's actually so sick, as is Glide Dive Duo. That card is excellent in general, but really good with Starscape Cleric on board. But what I was going to say is it's actually so sick that Heaped Harvest single-handedly, I think, pulls out double Swamp. Yeah, when it enters and when you sack it, okay. Single-handedly gets us to the Wix Patrol. Off of no natural black sources drawn this game. Oh, Paw Patch Formation's actually sick here too. Okay, things are maybe turning around for us. We likely want to Wix Patrol because of how big our opponent's board is getting, and we know it can kill Glide Dive Duo. At least. Yeah. Let's get a blocker and kill a creature in the same turn. There is an issue I'm seeing here, which is Bonebind Orator. Is there anything I can do about that? I could kill the Orator with Wix Patrol and then fell the Glide Dive Duo. That just doesn't seem worth it. Because even if they get the Glide Dive Duo back with the Orator... Oh wait, no, Orator works from Grave. I'm dumb. So it'll be a while till they can Orator it back anyway. Yeah, they have to like chump attack and then spend 4, and then they can recast that. Yeah, we're fine for now. This is an interesting attack. So they're going to expend 4 at instant speed to make that a 3/3, I'm guessing. We definitely can't lose the reach creature. It is awkward to trade Bark Knuckle Boxer into it, because technically if they don't have a trick, then we can just eat that with Wix Patrol and lose no creatures, but I don't think they'd ever make this attack without a trick, so I think we just trade the Bark Knuckle Boxer into it. It's not even filling the grave for Forge. You have to forge 4 cards, right? Oh, no, it is 3 cards. Maybe it was for Forge. Oh, it was for Thoughtstalker Warlock. All right. I should think it's Dire Sight here, because I'm just going to be casting Sentries right now anyway. And then Starlit Soothsayer. Hello there. Thornplate Intimidator. I could do that, but that doesn't help the multitude of flying creatures. Yeah, let's Treetop Sentries, and I've got more than enough to forge away. And we basically just win whenever we find Maha or Ren. Play a duo over Paw Patch Formation. That's fine. Now that I've got multiple reach blockers. Maybe I should have still kept the card draw. I mean, Treetop Sentries is still card draw, but maybe I should have kept the Surveil 2 draw 2 over the Create a Creature draw card, just because of how good some of our draws in the deck are at this point. Specifically Vren being completely game-ending, because that could dig really far for it, but I felt that there is a lot of value in the 2/4 reach body looking at this board state. So it's like we get a great stat line on board and draw a card off Treetop Sentries. So that card is also just really, really good for us right now. Maybe it was like Ditch Paw Patch Formation or something, but that also feels weird. And there's a bunch of excellent flyers with good abilities out. So Hazel's Nocturne's obviously pretty bad for us, pretty excellent draw for our opponent. So they're back to a million flyers on board and getting us pretty low with the Starscape Cleric Glide Dive Duo combo. Just continue digging towards Vren and having plenty to block with. Alright, Innkeeper's Talent would also work. We have 3 incredible bombs that win us the game. They're all in the bottom 16 though. So I could fell something and still have Paw Patch Formation up. If I fell the 6/6, I get to actually start maybe getting damage in. The problem is I attack, they chump with the Orator. I mean, if they chump with the Orator, they just get the Dray Leader back for now, but it does make it so whenever I do kill a flyer, they just Orator that back. I'll have to chip through it at some point. Yeah, seems actually fine. Did they still never fix the forage glitch? If you play a forage card and then you look at somebody's graveyard and then you stop looking, it just keeps doing the chirp chirp sound. Yeah, I don't think they ever fixed that. That's so funny. Alright. I got 2-for-1 trade. I could Paw Patch Formation here. Then I don't have the removal for the 3/3 flyer or the Starscape Clerics. But then I keep Wix Patrol out and maybe kill more creatures with it over time. Double food token plus glide dive. This is a lot of damage threatening to come at me. With all this life gain though, with the Starscape Clerics out. And I guess if I formation the Cleric though, they can Orator back. And then get 2 Offspring later. But that takes time to do. They have to chump with the Orator, then they have to 4 mana to reanimate. They've got not enough mana to do that and then recast with the Offspring. Oh, this game is scary. But we're actually starting to get a lot of damage in going this way. There's Vren. Okay. Definitely block with Orator. Actually, no. Now they can't do the Orator thing because we exile it with Vren. That's such a perfect draw. Good lord. I think I need to eat the food here over playing an Intimidator, especially when I can Offspring the Intimidators really soon. I'm gonna have to turn the audio off. I'm so sorry. But the Forge audio still being broken is insane. At least this board has a great song. Alright, there's Cash Grab. Okay, that is really good at this point. Oh, 4 lands. I guess it only picks up something from among the milled cards. They can't choose anything else. Never mind. Not as scary as I thought, but still the food tokens are very relevant. They have one card in their hand here, and with Vren on board, we're not worried about Orator's ability at all. So really not super concerned about any blocks they may have. I think I just had open mana to eat the food and then just passed. And forgot. That's frustrating. I think that's literally because I turned all the sound effects off, so I wasn't like getting all this phase changing audio instinctually. It's fine. I still have exactly enough to eat the food here after offspringing. We're going to do this pre-combat to get the Baker's Bane duo buff so we can attack with 2 3/3s again. Maybe I just attack with Baker's Bane duo and that's it here. I am egregiously low on life. They have 4 power flyers, unless they kill both treetop sentries. I block a 3/3, take 1 in the sky. Yeah, no, I think we still send both in. If they have instant speed removal for Vren, that is a very big deal. Probably their best way to win this game is drawing the instant speed removal for that. Okay, nope. That is exiled thanks to Vren. Let's just eat the food here. Get a rat and pass. Looks like they were reading Vren a little bit there. Maybe they did not realize the exile, as I did not realize when we drew Vren just how good that was. They do have the Polywallop, but it was too late to stop the exile. And too much mana to target the Vren. So yeah, it's more it was too much mana than it was too late. Could have targeted Vren if they didn't cast anything that last turn, I guess. Another Thornplate Intimidator to go with these Vren tokens is pretty fantastic. Getting 2 more rats on this board. Oh, I forgot Harbinger's ability. All right. Yeah, they got me pretty bad there. I do still kill the Glide Dive duo. This is probably the right block even with Harbinger's ability, because the other option is to just take 4. So at least this way I kill the Glide Dive duo. Yeah, I'm so low on life. I think I have to take this trade, which is pretty rough. But now I have the Sentinel up to block the Harbinger. Yeah, okay. Full disclosure, I completely forgot about that ability. But even then, I think that we had to block like that. Because that's a lot of damage. We'd be at 3 life right now. 3 life, and they wouldn't have had to have sacked as many food. So they could have more Harbinger triggers later. Does Pawn Profit matter as a blocker? I kind of don't think these matter as blockers. Sticky Tongue Sentinel does. They could go eat that, but then they take 12. Yeah, they die if they just eat those. Yeah, we'll do that. Go block a 6/6, block a 6/6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I guess if I attacked with the whole board, since they were tapped out, that was lethal. Maybe? We might have missed lethal there. Yeah, because they have to block the 2 rats. This thing can't block. And if they block those 2, if Ren's getting in as well... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It was exact lethal. Yeah, missed lethal as well. Sloppy last couple turns. Again, even though I didn't realize what was going on with the Harbinger attack, I think I ended up doing the right block. But last turn we 100% missed lethal. So if they top deck like the black board wipe or something here, they got us. Because it does deal damage to a player equal to the number of cards in your grave. Okay, they did not. So I believe we win. Yeah, I mean, they're just super dead on board. No blockers. Alright, cool. No need to eat the food there, they're just dead. Alright. Some sloppy stuff there. Just missing the lethal. But overall, really good showing from the deck. Took us a long time to hit one of our bombs, but that Vren was just perfect. And there's still 2 more incredible ones in here. There's the Maha and the Innkeeper's Talent. Yeah, I'm pretty confident with the deck. Gotta get a little more confident with our actual plays, though, as we move into game number 2. Here we are for game 2. Now we have some pretty bad mana, this time showing off once again, the importance of that green mana in the opening hand. I believe this is just a forced mulligan here. Yeah, certainly is. Alright, this is better, but we really need to hit the right mana. Probably get rid of the early winter. We've got a 4 and a 5 drop already without it. I would see an argument for getting rid of Vren, because there are less blue sources in this deck than any other lands we could draw. Oh god, turn 1 Heartfire Hero on the play, says opponent. Are we playing standard? Turn 2 Manifold Mouse, GG? No. Alright. Alright, and they're not curving out either, so that feels pretty good. Draws are exclusively lands, which means we are not playing any blockers till turn 3, which is certainly awkward. And no Bloodthirst trigger on the Thoughtstalker Warlock is also sad. We don't get to choose what they discard here. Don't get to play our Vren turn 4 because we have not drawn any blue sources. Hand is not going great, but luckily our opponent's is not going as scary as it looked like it was going to be. They just have not played anything turn 2 or turn 3. I believe Heartfire Hero just shoots the face, right? Yes, when it dies, it deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. So if they don't Valiant it and get a +1/+1 counter on it, it can no longer attack in here. A 2/2 is good enough to block it. It's not like some of the other cards that do that, where when they die, they deal the damage to any target, so it could actually deal 1 to Warlock and then die and deal another one. Ditch Feed the Cycle? I'm somewhat happy to see that, considering our hand has a Vren and a Maha in it. But I'm also concerned, because that means their hand is very powerful. Alright. White Source Dire Sight here. Do some digging. Keep both on top. 0 value from the Surveil 2, but that just means they had some lucky draws set up, which we have not. Has been 100% lands at this point. Some of these lands were helpful, but no blue. Alright, Steam Path Charge is pretty bad for me. I have to imagine if they ditch to feed the cycle, they are going to have more removal for Maha, but even if they do, they have to get rid of their removal spell and discard an additional card. 16 life. Red and black both have Bloodthirst as a mechanic, where if they damage me, they get a bonus. So this could just be that. If it was just Bloodthirst, though, they could just send in the Steam Path Charger, have it die, and deal 1 to me. If it's any combat trick to give like +3/+3 or something, they could use it on Heartfire here as well. So it must be like another Take Out the Trash 3 damage thing. So what, I go to 14 here to keep Ma on board. As otherwise, I kill the Charger and the Take Out the Trash and another card in their hand. If this isn't a bluff, it's still technically decent value for me, but I just have no follow-up if it isn't a bluff. So even though like a 3-for-1 isn't inherently bad, like then I just lose after that anyway. But I kind of just lose if I don't hit the right cards regardless, right? Because even if I keep this on board, what am I going to do? Attack with it and then take 4? Like they're just going to outrace me. Got 3 swing lethal. This is rough. Should probably go for 3 swing lethal. Let them play something, fell that card. See if 3 swings outraces here. That's something. Put them to 12. They put me to 10. I put them to 6. They put me to 6, and then I kill them. I technically very, very slightly win this race, in theory. So we go for it. It's all we've got. Down to 10. One, two, three, four, five, six, 7. 7 power over there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, I have no other plays. I don't need to overthink this. It is what it is. Put them to 2. I believe this has been literally everything we could do here. Don't think there was any line we could have done differently. I mean, Mulligan could have been different. I think the Vren was worth keeping with the triple blue sources, but I don't know. The potential upside is really, really high. And there's a huge risk to keeping triple, like 4 and 5 mana cards in the hand. Whew. All right. Yeah, I think really the only decisions there that could have maybe gone any better were mulligan decisions. I mean, still pulled out the victories. That is excellent. Stressful game of Magic, though. We did find the Fountain Port Bell for the Vren here in the last turn, which is cute, but I mean, if this doesn't kill them, we just die, period. So just go for that regardless. But yeah, I mean, what do we keep, right? We kept 3 lands, Maha, Vren, Thoughtstalker Warlock. If I ditched Vren, I'd keep 3 lands and 2 5-drops. I guess ditching Vren might have been a slight bit less risky, because it would be a little easier on average to hit a 5-drop than a blue card. But it still has a lot of inherent risk to the hand with multiple 5-drops in it. I don't know. I mean, obviously, in hindsight, because we did not draw the blue source at any point, it would have been better to not have Wren in hand. But it's all about, like, what were the odds of that, or the actual statistics. Which hand works better. And how valuable is it to have a chance of hitting Wren? Because, like, maybe Wren is just strong enough that even though you're less likely to cast the Wren, it's still better to keep it over the early winter. Just some of those really interesting things about Magic, where there is almost always room to debate over a lot of different plays. It's a lot of arguments either way on the keep. All right. Dire Sight towards a blue source for Wren seems like a thing we can do. I'm also a little tempted to just run out the Sticky Tongue Settle and start loading it up. I mean, when I've got an Innkeeper's Talent on board, I feel like just getting that rolling ASAP is pretty powerful. Especially against a red deck that's out of reach of their 3 damage removal spells. Nice, 2-3. There's the blue source. We love to see that. If I double spell, that shoots me in the face. I kind of have to double spell here, though. Because in order to play 2 spells in 1 turn, I have to play Fountain Port Bell first, before the Fel. So I guess I get shot for 2. But I do think I'm going to Fel that. All in on the juiciest Sticky Tongue Sentinel, let's go. Take out the trash, that is nowhere near big enough. I guess if I pre-combat the Wren, they can't chump here without me getting a rat. But I would rather they chump, I feel like, than just take the 6. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe I'm supposed to sequence that differently. But, like, if I do play Wren first and then attack, like, they're not going to block and give me the rat, which is what I would want there. I would rather just keep getting stuff off the board than hit them for the 6 there. There's the Coyote, so there goes Sentinel, but Wren remains, which is the important part. Sticky Tongues, Sentinel. Or, sorry, Treetop Sentries. Why am I getting my cards mixed up? I'm a card away from foraging here. Dire Sight will load that up, but Thornplate Intimidator is also just solid stats right now. The Offspring ability is pretty good. Not the Offspring ability, the Enter ability, the Torment ability of lose 3, discard a card, or sack a permanent. Okay, 1 counter on Wren, and Wren is out of reach of the 4 damage, 3 mana removal spell, as well as the 4 damage to a tapped creature removal spell. So we attack with Wren. Live Creed Duo. Okay, I don't think we attack with Wren here. 5 power Intimidator, Paw Patch if they block. If they don't block, level up Innkeeper's Talent and play Treetop Sentries. Yeah, if they do block here, I can Paw Patch Formation and Dire Sight in the same turn. Sonar Strike. That's awkward. Sure. But that is what we were just getting Vren out of reach of last turn, which is nice. Okay. Well, now I can level up Innkeeper's Talents and Forage with Sentries in the same turn. So that's still decent. Now it's really hard to target Vren. That's Ward 3. Another Pathmaker. See what they hit here. Mountain. Digs it out of the way, though. Basically has fully drawn them a card, and then there's Thistledown players. Doesn't matter too much. Vren's gonna keep doing his thing. Secret Reach is no longer a thing. Our opponent was saved from Hidden Reach by Arena's gigantic arrow over our treetop sentries. Level up an Innkeeper's Talent, hold up Formation. Could Heaped Harvest plus Dire Sight. Only get one counter this turn, but pretty solid. Just mana efficiency. Oops, why did I tap double green? I'm a big doofus. That's why. Doesn't really matter. Arc Form Harvester. Well, now they will never mill out. Oh, Stalker Warlock. 2 cards in grave. Got a food on board to forage, though. Let's do that. If I don't draw land, I can Thoughtstalker Warlock this turn, and if I do, I can level up the talent. Okay. Did I break the forage audio again somehow? I don't think I looked at a graveyard while I was foraging. Maybe I did. My absolute buffoon self. Okay, I probably have to just put this stat line on the board. They're so unlikely to end up just holding a card in hand at any point. Yeah, we broke the forage audio as I clicked the concede button. What an ending to this game that would be. Hello. Early winter's quite interesting. Alright, I mean, if I just level this up and start getting 2 counters a turn. We're going to get to immensely profitable attacks really soon. Because even if they can do a 2-for-1 trade with a double block at some points, then I've killed some creatures, gotten a rat. Could even make it blow up in our favor with an early winter. Yeah, there's the concession from our opponent. They're tired of me thinking it out with all the cards in hand and options here. They're like, nah, you're so far ahead. Let's just get this over with. 3-0 it is. This deck has absolutely carried us so far. And we are halfway towards potentially some booster boxes here, but you are always on a razor's edge here in these events. There are only 2 losses to give, so cannot be too insanely happy yet. We could still leave without any prizes, but we'll see how it goes as we head into round number 4. All right, here we are on the play for game number 4. This is a pretty strong hand here. We don't have a 2-drop creature to get our Warlock to be able to look at our opponent's hand or anything, but just playing the Warlock, picking it up with Sentinel for later, potentially, could be quite strong, making our opponent ditch multiple cards in hand. So, an easy keep still. We've got, of course, the Maha at the top of the curve. We have the interaction, the removal spell, if they play something pretty scary. All right, let's get this rolling. Playing against a red deck, there's a Wix Patrol, so our late game just got even better. So do everything we can to prolong this game and make it there. Which is going to be just running out the Warlock. Getting the 1 discard here. If Warlock just makes them discard 1 card and then trades into Rallier, it's already a solid 2-for-1, so I wouldn't mind that. But I could absolutely get greedy and Sticky Tongue Sentinel it back, which I think I will do here. Ooh, and there's the punishment. They have their own Thoughtstalker Warlock. It's pretty good, but we are still very far ahead with this hand with Sticky Tongue Sentinel and Wix Patrol coming up. But obviously they get to get rid of the Maha here. Yeah, that was a rough one. It is what it is. 3 Tree Scribe is the draw. I am interested in 3 Tree Scribe plus Fell on a later turn, but we'll see. They have double Thoughtstalker Warlock? That would be an incredible sealed pool. No. There's the Frilled Spark Shooter. That is fine. Probably have to Fell that. Which means now is the time to get that mana-efficient Scribe plus Fell. Four Menace is just a lot of damage here. We are still trying to survive to hit 6 drops. There's 2 Orators, sure. Got the 2/3. They are down to 1 card in hand now. Lots of stats on board, but looking fine. Let's get rid of that final card. Just a mountain. All right. We're pretty stable. They're playing off the top. And if we last towards hitting these cards, we are going to be real far ahead. We've got solid double blocks here. Yeah. We run out Thornplate Intimidators then. And they do not have solid double blocks for the Thornplate Intimidators. We just start attacking with those. They could like double block with both Orators, I guess, since they have graveyard abilities, would be their best play. Ooh, Flamecaller now makes their board infinitely better. That was a very good draw. So we take some 1-for-1 trades here. This does 3 damage to 1 target, right? If it would deal damage to a permanent or a player, it deals that much +1 instead. They could do 2 to 1 card and 1 to the other, which would be 3 to 1 and 2 to the other, which kills 1 of these 2. And that's a 1-for-1 trade. All right. Yeah, Flamecaller is awkward for us. One land away now. Oh, I guess it doesn't work with the Orators, at least. That's so funny. Is that an insignificant enough impact on the board to just not play it? No, because I can attack with these Intimidators, actually, because these are not any of those 4-card types. Alright. Let me rip the board and then go order back Flamecaller here, I guess. I guess they can order back the Warlock, which is pretty annoying. Maybe I don't play Intimidator. And I probably have to play Intimidator and then discard Ren, genuinely. Which is tragic, but what are you going to do if you just never find the blue? I'm any land away from Wix Patrol. I'm specifically one of our 3 blue sources from Ren. We kill them really, really fast. Because if they Thoughtstalker Warlock, if they didn't draw specifically a 2-drop, we just kill them in 2 swings. If I hit a land. Alright, yeah, they're dead. Because they can't order back anything else here, so they just take 6. And then I send in the whole board, they take at least 6 again. Unless they draw pretty much perfect. It sounds like 2 songs are getting... I don't know why my arena just has the most scuffed audio of all time. But it does sound like it started playing 2 songs at the same time at some point in this game. Anyways, we're 4-0. That was an awkward game. Some of our choices did not line up super well, but I don't think that that means that they were super incorrect choices, because we didn't know that they had a Thoughtstalker Warlock in hand on turn 3. I think that was the play that went the worst for us, losing the Maha specifically. But yeah, we couldn't have known they had that specifically in hand. Maybe I didn't realize the squirrels were not getting the extra damage quickly enough. We might have made a slightly incorrect attack or block at some point. But yeah, things are just going incredible for this deck. We are 4-0 heading into game number 5. No matter what, we are getting some value back out of this draft. Well, not exactly. We're getting some of our gems back. Not value in the case of being in the money. You're only in the money at a 6-win run in these. Alright, opponent takes a mulligan, and I'm very happy with the start. 3 Tree Scribe into Dire Sight fills the grave for our Treetop Sentries. Gets us a blocker on board to help us survive. And digs quite far towards one of our blue sources. So this is really, really good. Speaking of really good, Pawn Prophet is a gross blocker against Nettle Guard. So I kind of want to go for that instead of Dire Sight. But Dire Sight both getting towards Ren and setting up Treetop Sentries is incredibly inherently valuable. So I'm just going to do that. These are not blue sources. So by surveilling both into the grave, we have the full 3 cards in grave for Treetop Sentries. And once again, I'm just going to play in a way to preserve life total and prolong this game. If they want to kill my 3 Tree Scribe with a combat trick, they got it. Spent a card to kill my card. Kind of the same difference whether they combat trick or use the creature to kill it. Bandit's Talent, a little annoying. I do have the Paw Patch formation to deal with that if I need to. If they're going to start making me lose a bunch of life or anything. Yeah, I think the scariest part is when they start drawing cards if I have too few in hand. So I'm going to hold on to this formation for a little while. Actually, Early Winter can deal with it as well, which is nice. As far as I remember, I do not have any actual graveyard recursion, I just have foraging. So I'm just going to keep going by instinct and just exiling the weakest looking cards in grave. Okay, Caretaker's Talent's a huge deal. Because whenever any tokens hit their board, they draw a card. And they can copy something else and make a token of that. Yeah, so we're gonna Paw Patch formation that. For sure. I'm just gonna do that right now. Before they get to level 2 it, get a token, draw a card, all that good stuff. Might just hold on to this swamp now just to slow down the Bandit's Talent. Zorline with the 2 mana to reanimate somebody. Incredible card. Zorline can reanimate any permanents? Lord have mercy. Yeah, it's not even creatures specifically. Okay. We're still in a good spot. Enters or attacks, you say. So I have to... I don't have the mana to play Formation and Early Winter. I can Formation Zoraline, then I can still Early Winter the Caretaker's Talent next turn. And then if they play like a good non-flying creature, I have removal for that instead if I need to do that instead of getting rid of Caretaker's Talent. I have to kill Zoraline because they're guaranteed to get value off of her. There is an argument to Early Winter first. If I Early Winter first, I know I can double spell next turn. But I could just double spell right now with like Boxer. Yeah, I'm just going to double spell right now and keep the more flexible removal. I guess if they have more graveyard recursion, that would be another reason. Just could exile the Zoraline. Yeah, they're a black deck. Let's exile Zoraline. Okay, we're exiling Zoraline, and then Paw Patch Formation will exile Caretaker's Talent because it has a finality counter on it at this point. Wow, their deck is frustrating. I should have kept that Swamp. I played it because I figured we can get to 7 mana to Early Winter and play a 2-drop if I hit another land, but yeah, I mean, hitting this Ruthless Negotiation is disgusting. We're gonna have your draw step. Each opponent that has 1 or fewer cards in hand. Okay, we're fine. We're fine. Maybe this was just yet another game where I'm supposed to ditch Wrenn. Is this deck better just without Wrenn? So we played the 3-2, they'd be at 7 life right now, and then they take 6 next turn. I have got 1 or fewer cards if I played Wrenn here. So they draw 2. 7 life, though. I mean, that's got to be worth it. Guess I could have played Wrenn in Formation, but I really want to shut off this Caretaker's Talent if they try to do anything with that instead. But maybe it was just tap out and get rid of Talent. Bandit's Talent. It's so funny when there's cycle of cards, or cycles of cards, because then it's like, well, what exactly are they referring to? Pass turn with 3 mana up. They didn't level up Jolly Gerbils. One, two, three, four, five, six, 7. I don't have anything that costs more than 5 in here, do I? I have 1 copy of Wix Patrol. If I draw exactly Wix Patrol, we might want to Formation Bandit's Talent right now, and then draw Wix Patrol play. But if I draw anything else in the deck, we can just hold Formation up still. Because I don't care about the life loss. Okay. Shoot. I forgot that this is technically like a 7-drop. Because that would be another card that I'd want to have Formationed before I play it. Because then I could level this up the whole way and still have Formation up. It's going to be like 4 damage to a tapped creature or something. They don't have the mana to pay for Vrenn's Ward for, like, anything. They could have the +2/+2 trick make this a 4/5. I could easily be forgetting something, so I'm just going to send in the 3/5. Because that also gets around the deal 4 more than well enough. It's the +2/+0 indestructible. Okay. So they don't kill my card. Man, the double talents is so bad. Just don't know which one to kill. I mean, this draws them a card every turn no matter what. But if I don't kill Caretaker's Talent, they get a copy of Gerbils, and it's a... They get a copy of Gerbils, draw a card, and the copy's a 4/5. At worst. Which are both so bad for me. I should have just killed one of them last turn. I forgot I had 2 spells that were too expensive. I'm going to try to kill Caretaker's Talent here in response to them, like, leveling it up. If we lose this game, it's probably just for not blowing up Bandit's Talent a couple turns ago. Got so much card draw off of it. Okay, well, if they just keep holding up all the mana for removal instead of Caretaker's Talent, then we gotta kill Bandit's Talent. Instant speed removal, that costs 3 or less to kill Vren. Hello, Fel. 2 mana, 4 damage. If I put counters on Vren, they can't use that. We fell this to get combat tricks out of the list of things they can do. Or to make them just cast a combat trick right now for indestructible. Indestructible it is. So we don't really get to attack this turn. Could have like Savor for -2/-2 or something. Because that's pretty bad if they Savor the Pond Prophet. Any targeted removal is going to go right to Vren no matter what. So I think we actually just juice up the sentries. Man, just the value town they have gone to between Zoraline, Caretaker's Talent, Bandit's Talent. We got some really strong rares, but we are not drawing nearly as many cards. It's the forage removal spell, sure. Yeah, goodbye, Ren. Man, the Bandit's talent plus like 2 insane discard spells was gross too. And then there's more card draw synergy. Just wombo combo, insane synergy sealed pool over there. All right. Yeah, I mean, we could have kept them off a couple more pieces of card draw. Blowing up Bandit's talent earlier. So definitely didn't play this one outright, but deck is ridiculous. Essence Channeler. Yeah. We're getting our Divine Justice for all our bomb wins. God. The turn you play an Essence Channeler, it's already a 5/4. They still haven't even activated Caretaker's talent. Which is insane to me. And then we flood. That'll do it. It's gonna be 4-1. I don't know if this game was winnable, but it was certainly... Oh, why did I search for a land? Okay. I'm way too tilted. I gotta take a little break here and reevaluate. Because that was extra sloppy, actually just instinctually clicking on a land when it put them up for me. Like, hey, look at these lands, click the button. And I was like, okay. Yeah, I just flooded myself for no reason with that one. We actually could have cycled that into maybe a non-land. Doesn't matter, I mean, we're just dead very, very soon. We mill out before our opponent as well. We have no draws to get out of this at this point. Caretaker's talent going to be buffing up all their tokens, giving them like a second Star Charter or a second Essence Channeler. Yeah, it's GG at that point. The turns that mattered were the earlier turns, maybe killing the Bandit's talent earlier. But we had like enough pressure on our opponent that I was consistently feeling like there's just enough pressure on them that they're going to get to the point they need to like level this up and get a copy of a token and get multiple blockers down, but they just never did. So I keep holding up that mana and not getting to like blow up the talent in response ever. So just maximum punished for that line there. That was probably, it was definitely a bit incorrect, but we just got insanely heavily punished for going for that. And then, when I had like the 2 mana up and it's like, well, I could cast the Paw Patch Formation and anything I draw on the same turn, and then I draw the 7-drop. It was like, okay, I lied. There are 2 cards in the deck that are too expensive where I can't cast both in the same turn. And Innkeeper's Talent was one of those 2. I couldn't fully level that up and still hold up Paw Patch Formation, but yeah, that was the big thing. We needed to just Paw Patch Formation something earlier. Had we done that, we would have had a much better chance that game. But again, opponent was just living the absolute synergy dream, so it still wasn't a guarantee. That is just what we need to focus on and try to change in the future. Just throw the formation out there. Just actually kill something first. Yeah, it sucks that they have 2 really good card draw engines and you can't kill both, but the sooner you kill one of them, the more card draw you stop. If you sit there and wait, trying to decide between the 2 for too long, they're just going to draw a bunch of cards in the meantime. The issue I kept having was that, like, if this thing pops off, it is so much worse for me than Bandit's Talent because it is buffing the entire board, getting another copy of their best creature, and still drawing them a card, basically, every turn, because it draws them a card when they duplicate it off of that. It draws them a card when they offspring something like Intrepid Rabbit, when they make any food tokens. So I was just like, well, I just don't want to formation the talent because the other thing's so much stronger. But if it's not actively doing anything yet, whereas the Bandit's talent is actively doing things, just kill that Bandit's talent. Yep. Tragic game. Very, very well played from our opponent. Bit sloppily played from us. And it is what it is. 4-1 heading into game number 6. Maybe there was a chance of victory there, but I don't think it was particularly large. All right, here we are for game 6. Excellent opening hand here. Bark Knuckle Boxer and Pond Prophet to get us rolling. Probably play the Boxer first. I've already hit land 3, which is the most important thing to draw by turn 3. So we can just start with the Boxer to get damage out and then play the Prophet turn 4. Well, no, play it on turn 3 towards land 4. Another green-black matchup here. Get that 3 damage in early. Pawn Prophet finds us another forest. Dagger Fang Duo. Not horrible, just trade the Boxer into that. It's perfectly fine. I guess I could have actually expended here, but I'm pretty fine with the trade. Trade my 3-2 into it instead of my 4-3. And opponent sees that and chooses not to block. They're like, well, if you wanted to save, you probably would have cast stuff pre-combat. So, smart play from our opponent not going for the trade, saving it to trade into something better, or to try to trigger something like the lizard that works when it damages us. I mean, 4-3 is going to trade down into it on attacks on a later turn anyway, so let's just stop a potential Thoughtstalker Warlock. Curious Forager, 4 cards in grave. Yep, Dagger Fang Duo works excellently with Forage. That is a very nice turn from our opponent. Pick up the Duo, sure. That has less to do with the Dagger Fang Duo being really good and more with the Curious Forager, but it is still quite nice. Could threaten to have a 2-mana instant by playing 3 Tree Scribe pre-combat. I don't want to fell the Forager. Yeah, let's play the 3 Tree Scribe and then attack. Cool. That would have been a, not like a horrible trade for me, but a bad trade for me if they just, oops. Again, this is probably like Thoughtstalker Warlock. I think I have to block. But that would have been a bad enough trade that I am happy that the little shenanigans worked in our favor. Yigra Engrave. Alright. Got the Fell for that. 1 mana off from Offspringing the Intimidator. It's gotta be worth just jamming out here. If we find a swamp, I feel like I'm in a very winning position, but we'll see what we find here. I'm actually going to sandbag this forest. With the amount of discard we've been playing against today, I kind of forgot how relevant discard is in this format with Bandit's Talents and the Exile thingamabob. Ooh. Well, this is why we hold on to Fell. I have to sack Pond Prophet here. I don't have the mana to do all of this. I can't Sticky Tongue Sentinel, Pawn Prophet, and Fell Yigra here. So I guess I'm just felling Yigra. I have 1 mana off. Yeah, get damage in by felling this. Really close to Wix Patrol. I could fell and sack the Intimidator weirdly. Is that worth it? For the pawn profit draw? Probably not. Any land is a double Intimidator next turn, instead of just trading into duo. Kinda don't hate that. The only way that works poorly is if my top card is a swamp. But actually, even then I get to offspring it. It's just like then I'm not Wix patrolling. We're never gonna see what their card in hand is for all these attacks. Awkward draw. Saver's a huge deal. I mean, that would work even if they let the indestructible resolve, but killing the thing definitely matters. Sack the 1/2. Their hand must be really good. Yeah, it's been a Thoughtstalker Warlock the whole time. I'm gonna discard Wix Patrol, and we're immediately gonna top deck a Swamp. Watch. But literally any land in the deck, and I'm offspringing the Intimidator. Oh! Correct choice was correct. Never been more excited to not hit my second color. Down to one card over there, at least. We're way ahead in life total. They basically need to super win the top deck war. But it's possible, which has me concerned. I think this has been a solid recovery from last game. I think every line we've gone for has worked out well for us. Just keeping that Thoughtstalker Warlock locked from getting our most important cards until the very end when there's nothing we can do about it. Now each player's ripping some lands out of here. Show me the Vren on top of my deck, I swear to God, Arena. Blink and you'll miss it, but there was something pretty solid staring at us there. Right on top, getting shuffled away. Alright, well, if they miss on this top deck, they have to chump next turn. If it's not instant speed removal, it is a miss. Because it's not a creature. Unless it's like a gigantic instant speed moose, that would be rough. You really gonna show me Vren and then Maha? Oh my god. No. I need to stop looking over there. Arena forcing you to peek at the top of your deck before you shuffle. Absolutely savage. Absolutely savage. Wow, these draws are good. These might not be Vren and Maha, but I mean, look at this. Ridiculous. If they don't have the instant speed removal, the double attack's pretty good. They have to chump there, they take the extra one, go to 3. They do not. Alright, 5-1. We have made it to the final boss of this Arena Direct. No matter what, we are playing the maximum number of games of Magic here. Going for the full, what is it, 7-round event. So we made it all the way to the final battle, and we get a reroll if we lose the next game, we can just play another Arena Direct for free. Love to see it, but we're also only one win away from just immediately grabbing the money and running away with it. So I would love to do that. Maybe, again, there was a chance. I don't know exactly how high it is. It's not 100%. Probably something like 30% chance, maybe. Had we played perfectly during our one loss, we might be at a 6-win run right now. So this sealed pool, this deck certainly seems like it was capable at a 6-win run and potentially is capable of a 6-win run. So we'll see how it goes as we head into the final boss, the final game of Magic for today, win or lose. All right, here we are for that final game of Magic with perfect mana. Not a great curve, but we're on the play, so that helps make up for it. The Paw Patch formation gives us the food token for Treetop Sentries. If we make it to the late game, we have offspring abilities on these Intimidators. I am not hating this hand at all. Sticky Tongue Sentinel, we now have a 3-drop to play on curve. But the potential value of Sticky Tonguing back any of these 3 cards is exciting enough to hold off, I think, and just play a 2-3 that already blocks the Bodyguard. Unless they have Savor, in which case them savoring a Scribe is fine. I guess a Fell works as well, just straight up destroy target creature. Okay, immediate Camellia for Menace is not okay at all. Well, kept a 3-lander and drew 0 lands even with a Paw Patch formation draw. Nothing you can do about that, but we are 2 mana away from killing Camellia now, so we're under a ton of pressure to the point that we have to... definitely have to just run out the Sticky Tongue Sentinel. I don't even think we get to pick anything up with it. Up to 1 other target permanent. I guess I can just untap a land. Certainly don't get to get a counter on 3-Tree Scribe, though. This only triggers off of creatures. Alright. This is the best we have. Gotta lock in here. Miss land drop was rough. There's the Longstock Brawl, and their board has Menace, so we can't block it all through that. Two cards in grave, I have to lose my food token here. I'm going to be choked up enough on mana anyway that it's not like I'll easily be able to like cast a spell and sack the food in one turn. And they have the cards to forge right now? No, they must have an instant. Like an actual instant. Okay, Fell's a really good draw. Okay, no, that might have been Camellia's ability holding for them, but they don't have the tools to forage right now. I'm not sure. Maybe they have their own Paw Patch formation or something. Alright, we're still definitely on team survive at all costs right now. So I'm taking the blocks. What phase is it? It's not highlighting any phases. Oh, there it is, it's combat. Valley Might Caller. Jesus! +1/+1 counter whenever they play a frog, rabbit, raccoon, or squirrel. Camellia is more immediately dangerous. I am 1 mana away from early winter. I can early winter the Might Caller once it gets bigger. Fell Camellia for now. Unless they have the hexproof trick here. Be pretty frustrating. It's the premium uncommon. Yep. Pretty lucky. There's Baker's Bane Duo. At least we're both missing land drops right now, but their rares are 1 and 3 mana, so we're still under a ton of pressure. Now I can't kill Camellia and Might Caller. That is super bad. Bonebind Orator. Well, I'm glad our only removal left exiles. I'm not glad I'm still missing land drops, but Pawn Prophet is about as close as you can get because it does cycle towards the land. And we have to just pass. Could maybe send in Sticky Tongue here. No, that's a gigantic menace board. I don't think we can do that at all. They even have... I guess they still don't have the cards to forge, but they're close. The +1/+1 counter on everybody. There's land 4 for our opponent. All the mana gets held up. I have 3 cards in grave, no graveyard recursion in this deck. The only thing that cares about my graveyard is Wix Patrol and Treetop Sentries. I have 1 Treetop Sentries left. I do not need to hold on to this food token to forage with it. So we're going to cash it in while I have that extra mana. So I'm choked up enough on mana that we're just not going to have extra mana at any point. Just clutter up this board still. Savor the Duosher. In response to Be Fancy. Yep, and now we just lose to forage because the saver gives them a token to get a squirrel and put a counter on everybody. So the 2/2 menace squirrel, they have a 4/3 menace, a 4/4 menace, and another 4/4 menace. Don't really do nearly enough at this point against Camellia, but you're definitely the best play we have access to. They don't, on board, have a way to get a 5 toughness. Creature. So we send an Intimidator here. They can get 4 toughness squirrels, but if we can trade off 1 for 1 right now, that's value, no matter what we trade into. Unless they have instant speed removal, in which case we just lose, period. Oh, because if I just cast that and pass, I super lose. This is like as unwinnable gets. It's all going to come down to that earlier game. Had I just blown up a bandit's talent earlier? You might as well, honestly. Curious Forager for the bodyguard for 2 more squirrels. Plus the squirrel token from Camellia's ability. And here we are, 5,000 turns late. Thanks to their overprotect swap the fell. Might Caller's a 6/6 now. Maybe we had the early winter Might Caller. Takes such a beating if I do that though, because they have another food token on board to immediately sacrifice, so they get another 1/1 squirrel. Next turn, immediately off of Camellia. God, you still have more action? I mean, they missed a lot of land drops too, so we know it's all spells in hand. If I don't block here, I'm at 8 life. Never stabilizing anyway. If they do have a trick, it still costs some of their mana. If it's a 2 mana or greater trick, at least it stops Bodyguard from hitting this board. Still. Unless it's like a 1 mana trick. This is still probably about as good as we can do. At this point, yeah. What are you gonna do? We're damned if we do and damned if we don't. Well, we were not punished for early wintering Camellia. The only argument for early wintering Camellia, or sorry, early wintering Might Caller instead of Camellia would be that the Might Caller is going to be out of reach of Wix Patrol whenever they play the Bushy Bodyguard. We didn't hit the 6 land this turn anyway, so even if they did, even if I did early winter that, I can't Wix Patrol Might Caller now, and then they just play Bushy Bodyguard next turn, and Might Caller's out of reach. So, kind of once again, damned if we do, damned if we don't. I kind of feel like I have to draw the formation card, but if I do that and I don't hit a land, I'm casting nothing else this turn and just like immediately dying. But we're kind of at that point where we just have to add variance to this game, because the only way that we win is if we get insanely lucky anyway, so we might as well make the plays that go the best if we get insanely lucky. Yeah. The chance of intimidating and drawing a card this turn, and being closer to that Wix Patrol. Raccoons trigger Might Caller too, don't they? Wow. God. It was just 100% up to that first loss. This game was unwinnable from turn 1. It's exact lethal. If I don't just chump with Pawn Profit. 5-2 it is. Pretty devastating ending. Definitely sucks to lose it out that close to the prizes, but there was absolutely nothing we could do in that last game of Magic. It really comes down to that matchup against the Bandits' talents and the Caretakers' talents. That is where things could have gone differently. We had Paw Patch Formation, that talent, much sooner. And we'll never know exactly what sequence our opponent drew all those cards in, but there were potential sequences of draws they could have had there where it would have taken them long enough to hit those excellent ways to stabilize that they used, where we might have been able to like beat them down before they got there. Yeah, like we could never know with 100% confidence, but we definitely played that one out wrong and could have done it differently. Had a better chance at the win there. So that is... Oh, that's painful. It's about as painful as it can get here. I think the sealed pool was incredibly capable of a 6-win run. I'm really happy with the deck that we built. I think this is the best build in the sealed pool, at least one of the absolute, or at least tied with the absolute best potential ways to build this. Just lost out on some potential value that could have stacked up into our loss in that first game of Magic there. Not the first game, but in our first loss today. So it is possible, perfectly played, that is the game we could have changed things. So that is really what you got to go back and try to think about, try to look back on and change for the future. Got to just like throw that removal out there, stop all of the value that they're currently accruing rather than trying to stop later value over time. Like, I've been playing that way with our removal spells in a lot of these games. Like, I mean, I felled like a 2-3 that was shooting us now and then, because just the pace of the game dictated that we were getting a lot of extra damage out that way, and that 2 damage a turn from that card was like going to stack up decently. Like, there were plenty of times that you could argue to just hold the fell for something later, but multiple times we just threw a fell out there. We threw an early winter out there. I should have just been doing the same with the Paw Patch Formation and not like really waiting for that ideal moment to shut off a Caretaker's Talent interaction or anything like that. So yeah, that's what we can look back on and try to change for the future. There are always going to be games like our final loss where there's just stone cold nothing we could do. We just missed a lot of land drops, even keeping a 3-lander plus card draw there, to give our opponent all the time in the world that they needed to leverage their incredible 1 and 3 mana bomb rares towards just killing us before we could do anything, because that's Magic. It is a game with a resource system. Sometimes you're going to draw enough lands, sometimes you're not. Missing those land drops at opportunity times are going to destroy you, and sometimes it's not even due to lands. Sometimes your opponent just has the curve out, has the cheap bomb rares as well. So again, first loss is what we can really look back on and learn from. I don't feel bad at all about losing that last game of Magic. In terms of like personally feeling bad about like, oh no, I played so bad. But the first loss, I do feel bad about that one. That could have been played significantly better. But the very, very final loss here, just one of those games. You cannot win them all. So 5-2 is the final record here for the Bloomburrow Arena Direct. Pretty tragic ending, but on the plus side, that means we're playing more sealed Bloomburrow, more Arena Direct events, and we do not have to stop after just one run because I did not immediately cash out here. So maybe all things considered, this is a good thing because it means more Arena Direct videos for you all, more competitive Bloomburrow sealed on the horizon. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below, and if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.